In order to understand the nature of electromagnetic radiation, you must first acknowledge the existence of luminiferous ether. As I mentioned in section 1, you would experience length contraction and an increase of mass at relativistically high velocity because of the resistance of ether. Studies in quantum physics have confirmed that space is not nothingness, as most people imagine it to be. There is energy present in vacuums, and that energy can be repeatedly converted into mass, so it is impossible to say that space is devoid of any physical properties. I define ether as an omnipresent energy comprised of electromagnetic tachyon, which propagate at the speed of light squared. The tachyon ether is extremely thin, able to penetrate matter with zero resistance, unless mass is accelerated by means of propulsion at relativistically high velocity. If you take this definition of ether and convert it into a mathematical equation, it would be: ether is an omnipresent energy comprised of electromagnetic tachyon, which propagate at the speed of light squared. As surprising as this may seem, Einstein was not the first person to discover the equation E equals mc squared. Samuel Preston in 1875 and Orlando de Prato in 1904 both found the equation E equals mc squared by studying the nature of ether. This definition of ether is similar to Nikola Tesla's view of ether. Nikola Tesla claimed he had fully developed a unified field theory of gravity and electromagnetism, and worked it out in all detail, but unfortunately Tesla died before he could publish his work. Government agents were seen taking a whole truckload of his work, and, unfortunately, Tesla's dynamic theory of gravity is still unavailable under the Freedom of Information Act. He believed electromagnetism was the most important force in the universe, and even conducted experiments that could prove ether was made of electromagnetic tachyon. He described ether as secondary radiation from primary solar rays that were produced from every star in the universe. Since the electromagnetic frequency is so high, we cannot feel or see ether. Another interesting way to view ether is darkness is the light of light. Whenever you hinder light, ether is still able to pass through and create shadows. Now that you have a basic understanding of the nature of ether, I can discuss the dynamics of light. When you look at the traditional view of an electromagnetic wave, you see it has only a length and height. When you add the third dimension of depth to a wave, it becomes a spiral, which is a much more common symmetry found in nature. Even the Earth travels in a spiral, as you orbit the Sun congruent with the Sun's path toward Vega. If you were to look directly behind a spiral, as it traveled further away from you, it would produce this geometry. It has now been experimentally proven from R.A. Ashworth in 1998 that light travels in a helix, and he has the mathematics to back up his premise. If you are interested in his work, you can Google confirmation of helical travel of light. If you were to look directly behind a three-dimensional helix, as it traveled further from you, you would get this. The same geometry of a galaxy. Although I explain this in further detail in the next section about gravity, as ether contracts toward the center, it condenses into mass, the mass converts into energy, and expands from the center, creating a vortex of ether, mass, and energy. Again, another example of E equals mc squared. The paradigm shift comes when you apply the Infiniverse theory of relativity to a galaxy. If you were to decrease the size of a galaxy, its time would speed up relative to your time, and the vortex would begin to spin faster and faster. If you could look at it from the side, as it traveled, the bars of the galaxy would produce a wave resembling a helix, and the mass in the center would give it the characteristics of wave-particle duality. The same dynamics as electromagnetic radiation. What's really interesting about this is the fact that ancient history of mankind is abundant with literature about your relationship with light. I would like to take a minute to share some of this literature with you. According to Egyptian legend, Thoth was an immortal that taught mankind the secrets of the universe. When it came time for him to leave Egypt, he built the Great Pyramid of Giza, which erroneously was attributed to Cheops, and placed in it the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, later known as the Emerald Tablets of Hermes Trismegistus. He appointed guards of his teachings from among the highest of his pupils. As time passed, the descendants of these guards became the pyramid priests, by which Thoth was deified as the god of wisdom of those in the age of darkness. Here is a translation of the literature found on the Emerald Tablets. Lest ye again oman to my wisdom, that hearing ye too might live and be free. Not of the earth are ye earthy, but children of the infinite cosmic light. Know ye not, O man, of your heritage? Know ye not ye are truly the light, sons of the great sun, when ye gain wisdom, truly aware of your relation with light. Some I found who had conquered the ether. Free of space were they while yet they were man. Using the force that is the foundation of all things, drawn by the force that flows through the all, condensing, coalescing the ether into forms that grew as they willed. Follow ye ever the path of wisdom. Only by this can ye rise from below. Every man's destiny leads him onward into the curves of infinity's all. Most people think this is the Star of David, but it is shorthand for the geometry the emerald tablets were based upon. The star symbolically means as above so below. Could every galaxy have the same dynamics as a photon? Could you truly be the children of light? Most people don't realize it, but you end your prayers with Amen. Amen is Amun-Ra, which is the Egyptian god of the sun, the great light. Even text in the Bible says that God is the truth, the way, and the light. Do you truly believe the Egyptians were primitive? Plasma cosmology is a new and exciting view of the macrocosmos. Plasma is the most common form of matter, comprising more than 99% of the visible universe. But does plasma not produce light? Infiniverse is a new view of the cosmos. An electromagnetic cosmology free of Planck's length. The Infiniverse theory is that we live in an infinite fractal universe. A galaxy vortex emits photon vortices, which emit ether vortices, and so forth for eternity, each with the same geometry and dynamics. We are all the children of light, relative to the mass of the observer. Every galaxy is a photon of light, and every photon of light is a galaxy, each existing in different time dimensions relative to the mass of the observer. Since it has been experimentally proven that extremely energetic electromagnetic radiation can combine to form matter, everything you witness as matter is nothing more than an organization of galaxies revolving around galaxies. There is no such thing as nothing in the infinite circle of life. First, do you know, a new theory is attacked as absurd, then it is admitted to be true, but obvious and insignificant. Finally it is seen to be so important that its adversaries claim that they themselves discovered it. In Einstein's theory of gravity, space and time are entangled into a fabric of space-time, and objects with a large amount of mass have the ability to curve space-time and cause objects with less mass to orbit the space-time curvature. The Infiniverse theory of gravity is similar to Einstein's theory of gravity in respect to curved space, which I define as ether, but the difference between my theory and his is the geometry of the curved ether and the addition of thermodynamics. Deep space is about -454 degrees Fahrenheit, which is close to 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. The center of a galaxy easily reaches temperatures of millions of degrees Fahrenheit. Common sense will tell you if you mix temperatures of millions of degrees Fahrenheit with degrees just above absolute zero, the result will be a vortex. As the frigid ether contracts toward the center of a galaxy, it produces an extremely large amount of heat, and the thermal energy will expand from the center of the galaxy. The contraction of ether is what creates the illusion of warp space, and will cause light to curve around massive sweltering objects. This is known as the gravitational lensing effect. You can confirm that heat and ether form a vortex yourself next time you are outside at night. Look at a light post at an optimum distance of 100 to 150 yards, and you can see distinct bands of heat traveling away from the light source as ether contracts in towards the center. The heat-ether vortex can also explain the double-slit experiment. On the scale of a solar system instead of a galaxy, the heat-ether vortex is still present. Every star has a heat-ether vortex predominantly located along the star's equator, influencing the planet's orbit around the stars. A sunspot is the result of ether contracting toward the center of a solar system and penetrating the solar surface. The greater the number of sunspots, the stronger the contraction of ether, which is why the Earth's temperature increases relative to an increase in the amount of sunspots. Heat from the sun causes the Earth's atmosphere to expand from evaporation, and, similar to a hot air balloon, the Earth will rise further from the surface of the sun. The Earth will eventually reach a distance that will allow it to condensate and fall back toward the solar surface. This cycle of evaporation and condensation will continue indefinitely.